You know, we've really gone through a transformation over the last 10 to 15 years, trying to really focus on collaboration, on valuing the talents and the input of each person that comes to the organization. And we really felt like the space wasn't really conducive to that kind of collaboration. And that really created just a real barrier to, seeing your colleagues on a regular basis, the kinds of informal conversations that we want to have, the kinds of collaboration and, sort of intentional work together that we want. We work on climate, we work on nuclear weapons policy, and on mass violence and atrocity prevention. Those are our three big global challenges. And then we also do local work here in Muscatine. We do global education work with students and teachers and other adults. And so in this building, you get the people who are working on those big policy challenges, collaborating with each other, talking with the people who are helping them put together the programming events that we do all over the world.
So we talked through all the various ideas around certification processes, and the Living Building Challenge just seemed to align the most holistically with their values. The Living Building Challenge, it is a certification process for sustainable design, and it really is unique because it tries to push the boundaries and go beyond being less bad or just better than baseline, and to push that into be truly regenerative.
It's made up of 7 petals. So those are place, water, energy, materials, health and happiness, equity, and beauty. And all those encompass all of the different imperatives that you have to focus on to achieve the challenge.
We hadn't heard of it before, it was all new to us, but it became clear that this was really the gold standard. This was the one standard that kind of combined all of the different elements. And it went beyond the building. It was about contributing to the health and well-being of the people who work in the building and the people in the neighborhood. It was about the power of place, which is something that we've already been using in our programming. So these were all things that really resonated with us because they were things that we had already done, and we knew that the idea of pursuing a program that required that performance period was really important. We could go with a different standard where we would build the building to a certain standard and we'd get the plaque to hang on the wall and it'd all be great, right? But the Living Building Challenge goes beyond that. It says you have to prove over a 1-year period that you're really generating more power than you're using, that you are treating all of the water that falls on your site or disposing of it properly, that you are, like I say, contributing to the health and well-being of the people in the building and in the neighborhood. So we have to prove all of those things. So that really takes it to a whole different level, and I think that challenge really appealed to us.
One of the challenges for the design team was, do you build new or do you find something existing? And so we did a 6-month study to vet through multiple sites, including their existing office building renovation too. The Musser Library became an ideal site for them. The building had a lot of challenges. It was a lot bigger than what they needed it to be, but those challenges also became opportunities.
And then stormwater, we're managing that on site. Obviously we're taking a lot of that rainwater and we're collecting it and we're going to use it for the building. But anything we can't use will go into our overflow and go into the bioretention area where it can then soak into the ground and recharge the ground supply.
One connection to place in a biophilic way was to nod to the original creek bed that flowed through this site. There's a pattern in the pavers that is symbolic to that old river flow.
So urban agriculture is when you take a non-typical site in an urban setting where you wouldn't normally have farmland or crops of any sort, and you grow something there for consumption. In the case of the Stanley Center, we removed part of the building to create a courtyard, and that's where they were able to put their urban agricultural plots. So we're growing things like potatoes and leeks and garlic and lots of different lettuces, and That's all in the urban agricultural plots outside, and then we also have lettuce walls inside that give them the ability to grow food year-round.
By putting essentially a hole through the building, it really had this ripple effect across pretty much all, if not, or at least most petals. Yes, we put this courtyard in the building in order to address connection to nature and to have urban agriculture. But then that also took away roof area for water collection and for solar panels. So one of the requirements is also to produce more energy than what the building consumes. To do that, we needed more area than just the roof to put solar panels. Being such a tight urban site, there wasn't anywhere else to go with it other than some additional canopies, both what we call the north and the east side of the building. And by expanding that array to those canopies, that allowed us to get enough area to produce the energy that we were going to need. So energy conservation is also very important, and we want to reduce the demand that the building has for energy. So one of the big things that you take a look at is how can we create the most efficient exterior envelope. So this building, while being masonry and concrete, had very minimal insulation with it. So we rewrapped the entire skin, if you will, with a insulated rain screen and added an additional 5 inches of mineral wool insulation to that system.
There's just a lot of different programming elements, like even the canopy that goes over the alley. Since the food pantry door is right off that alley there, that gives their patrons a more dignified space to wait for the food pantry door to open. So there's just a lot of different considerations that went into specifically MCSA, but also, you know, the sidewalks were fully replaced. There's this beautiful PV canopy that goes up over those sidewalks, and now there's street trees, and this beautiful landscaping that's included in our bioretention area. So the materials pedal was a real challenge because it touched on really all the project teams, including the contractor and the subcontractors, and everybody had to work together to ensure that we were properly vetting materials, advocating to manufacturers to be more transparent with what's being used in their materials.
We had to meet a standard of recycling or reusing, you know, a certain percentage of everything that was taken out of the building, and we exceeded that percentage by quite a bit. But that's really because Graham put a lot of effort into making sure that that could happen. We use this space sometimes for some of those programming events. We also use it for the global education work. We've had tons of kids in and out of this building ever since we opened. It's a great space to invite people to. You know, people really want to come see it, so it's kind of got its own cachet right there. The idea of, you know, having lots of natural sunlight. The idea that it was possible that we could have, you know, both the quiet space for people to do the heads down kind of work, the office kind of stuff that they might do, but then also have the collaborative space that everyone really wanted so that they could come together. And so we thought, well, that's great. Let's find space that can accommodate both of those things.
One of the first things that they requested was private offices for everybody. And they wanted to make sure that that was equitable to all. So as close as possible, we wanted to get all these offices the same size, they had the same equipment, they had the same opportunity to do this sort of intense heads down work that everybody needed. And then we were able to provide some of those decompression spaces, the collaboration spaces, some of those other spaces to meet other needs outside of their individual offices.
But really, it's really just a lot of that kind of collaboration, getting to know your coworkers, really understanding, you know, what kind of resources and capacity that you might have, what might be stretched at any given particular moment, and, you know, working with people face to face is really kind of the best way to gauge those kinds of things and to build the kind of relationships that I think lead to better programming on our end. So again, it's part of the ripple effects of the project, not just about building, but about how you treat people and, you know, what constitutes a just organization, and, you know, how can you really raise the bar on how people who work for a living are treated.